Thanks for joining us. I'm Super Dave Quinn. I'm the founder of Day One Experts, and you are on Success from Day One. We're happy to have you. And as always, I'm very excited about our guest this month. And I know you say, like, gosh, Dave, I've watched every one of these, and every month you say you're so excited about the guest. But I promise you, I really am excited about my guest today, and I'm generally excited about all my guests. That's why I love to do what I get to do. And I'm super honored because this guest has, I know, gone through a grueling week, and yet she's still showing up for us today. I'm excited to have the author of Relentless Optimism, Rya Hazelwood, with us today. She's going to be talking about relentless optimism for life and for business. Is that right? Did I get that right? Like, I
Yes.
was worried about setting her up right, and because she's just a good friend to me. I know her as Rya, and I know she's really awesome. But she has some she has some fantastic insights to deliver that I think will transition into the world of economic development. Her stories, if you haven't read the book, it's an incredibly personal story of overcoming a lot of challenges and trials, and she's successful in spite of some of the journey that she had to take. And now she is learning or she is applying those lessons to help in business and life. And I thought, man, economic development can be a lot like that because sometimes we get hounded and from the public and from our boards, and it can be a little bit challenging and tiresome, and it feels like you start to lose a little bit of hope. But today I've asked Rya to pop in and give us a little pep talk and tell us how we can use relentless optimism in our everyday life to really help us do our jobs better. And so, Rya, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. If I didn't do a great job of introducing yourself, please help our audience know who you are and introduce yourself like you would have done it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here. I think that was a great introduction. I'll Venmo you that $20 later. And yeah, I'm just really excited to dive in. I believe in relentless optimism as a foundational tool for life and leadership. As you've said, to me, it's not an attitude. It is a practice. And I think when we live and lead with relentless optimism, we have the power to change everything from the breakfast table to the boardroom. Like optimism, when you really lean in, can be a superpower. And so I'm excited to be here today to share that message with all
Okay,
of
well,
the AI note takers.
right. So I'm going to set this up a little bit because, I know for my career for 20 something years, I kind of lean toward the optimism spectrum, right? Like I kind of show up and generally thinking things are going to work out anyway.
Hmm.
Um, but that's not always the case. And sometimes it's seen as a negative, right? Like people say, oh, you're just an optimist. And they kind of throw it out there like it is a negative. So talk a little bit about what you mean when you say relentless optimism and why
Hmm.
those two kind of go together. I think I love the way you've stuck those two words together, right? Because it is something that you do have to intentionally do and just, every day try to be that. So kind of set that up and give us some little context about what you're talking about when you say relentless optimism.
Yeah. Well, I think you're absolutely right. A lot of people hear the word optimism and they go, oh, you just have this Pollyanna attitude, right? That everything is going to magically be okay, magically work out fine. All we have to do is live here in this world and everything's going to be great in the future. And that's not true. I think that for me, relentless optimism really does blend reality and realism with the decision to believe in better. So relentless optimism isn't, yeah, it's not an attitude. It acknowledges the challenges. It says, life is going to be hard sometimes. Business is going to be hard sometimes. Things are going to be challenging. We are all going to face those times. Maybe we're facing them right now. I'm positive we've all faced them in the past. But relentless optimism is the decision to say, okay, here we are. We're in a time of challenge. But I choose to believe that there is better out there. I might not even know what it looks like yet, but I'm going to cast vision for better. And I'm going to make the decision to take the first brave step to get there. So the relentless comes in making it a decision, making it a practice. Even when you don't feel like it, even when you just want to like lay on the floor curled up into a ball, you do that, sit in that, go through it, get through it. But then you pick yourself up and you go, I believe I can make this happen. I believe I can make this better. And I'm going to endeavor to try. Even if the path is unclear, even if the road is steep, I'm going to keep going because momentum is built in movement, and we can, and I believe we can all make it better, even if we don't know what it looks like.
Well, so many things I love about what you just said. One, movement, right? Yes, you can feel the feelings and things, but at the end of the day, if you want to change something, you got to have action, right? Like it's not
Mhm.
going to magically a change, and I love that. And then, oh gosh, just lost my thought. Dadgummit.
Well,
Because
I'm
there's
gonna
so
I'm
many
gonna
different
pick up the
things.
word magical from you for a second, if that's
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
Because I think that's so important. And there's something out there called magical thinking If you're not familiar with the term, I find the people I talk to, I find about half of the people go, "Oh yeah, magical thinking, I totally get it," and everybody else is like, "What does that mean?" So to me, magical thinking is like you think that someday fairy godmother poof is going to come down from the sky, wave her magic wand, and fix whatever's going on. It's that like things might be hard right now, but in 5 years it's going to be amazing. But you don't really put thought around what it's going to take. And yes, in 5 years, you know what, everybody, I'm going to tell you, in 5 years it is going to be amazing. But you have to take the action to make it that way. So there is no fairy godmother. I'm very sorry about that. I was waiting for my Cinderella dress for a long time. Turns out it doesn't work. Magical thinking can kind of get you through some hard moments, but it can also keep you stuck for years when relentless optimism and the decision to take action and create the better is really what'll get you there.
That was it. The decision, right? Like it's a
Mhm.
point in time when you're just like, okay, I'm going to decide to do this. And
Mhm.
then, so there's the decision. That's step one, right? You got to decide, but you can decide and not do anything,
Mhm.
still not get anywhere. So it's the
Mhm.
decision and action. And those two things together really, it's funny how magical things start to show up once you start doing the work, right? Like things
Mhm.
start to align. I've always told people it's a lot easier to get help digging a ditch if you're in the ditch digging when someone asks, right? But if you're
Right.
just standing around going, gosh, I wish there was a ditch, it doesn't get dug. When you start
Right.
to dig it, then people come and understand the mission and what you're trying to do. They dive in the ditch
Mhm.
with you.
Right.
So thank you for that. Um,
Absolutely.
it's easy to say, I get this from my wife sometimes. It's easy to say, yeah, be positive or do the thing or have that attitude.
Mhm. Mhm.
Is there something that you've done, in those moments where you're like, I'm exhausted, I'm tired? What are the little things that I could do to start to build up to if I'm not already relentlessly optimistic? What's a
Yeah.
small step that I can start to build that habit? How do I build the muscle to reframe situations to be optimistic?
hmm That's a great question. And I think, like you said, it is, or like we talked about, for me, optimism is a practice, and it really is a practice. So you mentioned reframing. I think mindset is everything. If you set your mind, then that can dictate the rest. Inner self-talk, there's nothing more powerful than inner self-talk. So there's a couple of reframes that I lean into, and it's the have to get to. It, I I have to do this project today. No, I get to do this project today. And all of a sudden, the burden can become a blessing. And that's, you have to be really intentional about it. And I know it seems really simple, and it is, but it can be extrapolated out to anything. Like, I'm a single mom, right? So sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm so tired. It's been such a long day.
I can't imagine.
Right. And like, especially today, like you mentioned, we're like right on the heels of a really grueling conference. So thank you for making sure to slot me into this particular Thursday. But, but, uh, but so it's like, oh, okay, now like I just got home, like I just got back from the airport. I haven't unpacked or anything. And now it's time to get the kids to bed, right? And so, oh, I have to do bedtime routine. Actually, no, I get to do bedtime routine. I get to have this time with my son. I get to help him feel safe and loved, and I get to fill his tank while filling my own at the same time. So that for me is a really powerful shift. And there's a handful of those types of exchanges where it's just a simple word. I also believe deeply in the power of the word yet, which again, another really simple word. Apparently, I'm really into three-letter words today, get and yet, but we're going to go with it. So, for instance, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do yet. I don't have the answers. I don't have the answers yet. And so you're turning a dead end into an opportunity. You're instead of closing the door, you're actually opening it back up and giving yourself room to believe and to figure it out because in some way you're going to, right? Um,
Right. I know it's that I love that. Like the difference is so small, but
mhm,
it's tremendous in that one, like to your point, leads to a dead end, defeatist, there is no hope.
mhm,
And that three-letter word all of a sudden opens the door for hope, right? Because
mhm.
you're like, yeah, it means the potential for the answer is right around the corner or right, it's out there and I'm just not
Yeah,
seeing it yet. And I
right.
think that's so powerful. Just how powerful hope can the difference in someone who doesn't have hope and someone
Mhm.
who leaves room for hope to sneak in.
That's right. Yeah. And and hope I love the word hope, but I want to be careful with the word hope because it goes dangerously close to Pollyanna. And I
Yeah,
do
yeah.
believe big in hope, but I also want to emphasize, and this is such a big part of my mission and my message is it's always coupled with action. It
Right.
has to be coupled with action, or else you're just sitting there waiting for your magic wand. I mean, I'm still waiting for my Hogwarts letter, so I'm not going to discount that, but like you still have
Right.
to you still have
Yeah,
to take
yeah.
action.
There's still people out there buying lottery tickets. You just never know, right? Like
Right,
maybe.
today could be the day. It's not going to be the day. It just isn't. but
Right.
that's okay.
So, how is it that a person, how do you, and you talk a little bit about this, but when people lob us into the Pollyanna and sort of try to discount,
Hmm.
as economic developers, I always felt like we're the cheerleaders in the room, like we're the ones who's supposed to be rooting for the community and
Hmm.
and kind of building everybody up. But
Yeah.
again, people are like, well, the world is falling apart and you're just oblivious to what's going on. How
Hmm.
do you deal with people when they kind of try to put you in that Pollyanna state? What
Hmm.
do you have some tips on that, or how have you reframed that when you're talking to people?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think part of it is let's talk for a second about the difference between casting vision and setting goals. And they go hand in hand. And I do think as economic developers, um, you are vision casters to some degree. You go, what could our community look like if? What could businesses look like if? And you're really bridging several different stakeholders into this vision, right? Um, Within that, you're going to face challenges, political challenges, financial challenges, logistical challenges, some that people might see as roadblocks. And that's a fact. That's a fact of life. We're not going to discount that. But we're going to acknowledge those challenges. But then we're going to say, but even within the scope of those challenges, even if there is uncertainty, even if there's a pause, progress is still possible. I'm going to have a mindset of we may not have the full map yet, but we can take the next right step. And you don't have to have all of the answers to make progress. You don't have to have all of the answers. And in fact, if we're sitting around waiting for a 100% lock solid plan, then we're all just going to be sitting here waiting for a long time. Like, I don't even know what I'm having for dinner later, but I feel confident that there will be
You're
some
gonna
form
eat.
of food available.
You're going to
So
be able to consume something, right?
at some point, there will be calories that enter my mouth, right? So I like to say that relentless optimism is realism, but again, with a decision to hope and take action, to believe that the vision can exist. And we have goals. Goals are the mile markers. Vision inspires that. Goals are what we measure. Vision is what we feel, and they go hand in hand. So I think for me, when you're casting that vision and you're trying to bring people into it, and you're also acknowledging reality, I would go back to what I call vision framing. So I'd say take your big idea and link it back to three things. Again, pretty simple, but link it back to these three things. Why does it matter? That's your purpose. Who does it serve? That's your people. And how could it happen? That's your possibility. And within the framework of that, you have room both for optimism and reality. And optimism and reality actually go hand in hand for
Yeah,
that reason.
man, that is so good. I'm so glad the AI bots are here taking that down. I hope they break it down. I might have to give somebody to give me the notes that they took because that was really good. I
Oh,
think
thank you.
sometimes as economic developers, we think, right, we see the whole vision and all of a sudden we get overwhelmed because we're like, how are we going to get all of these people to do all of this stuff to do the thing? And then
Mm-hmm.
we get stuck because we
Yeah.
just can't see it. And I'm a big Zig Ziglar fan, and he used to always say, "You go as far as you can go, and then you can see farther." Right? Like you go as far
Yeah.
as you can see, and then you can see a little bit farther. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we see this mountain, and we don't realize there's a trail up the mountain until we get to the base of the mountain, and then we start to
Mm-hmm.
see one little piece of it. But then it switches
Yeah.
back, and you don't know that till you get to the next piece. So I love
Mm-hmm.
that tie-in there.
That's exactly it. It's like the how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time, right? You have to take this step to get to the next step. And I love the Zig Ziglar reference with the you have to get to the next, maybe you have to get to the next cliff to see the next horizon,
Well,
but
and
it's
Jane will
there.
tell you that I'm really good at running to the next step. I have no idea where it's going after that, but I know if we
Hmm.
get to that next step, we'll see it a little bit further. And
Hmm.
it's sometimes terrifying because that next step before you see the switchback is off the mountain, right? So that can sometimes not be good. But I
Right.
do love that concept. So, do you find that, do you think that there's a difference? It seems like it's harder for me to convince my wife not not have to have the whole 100% plan mapped out.
Yeah.
Whereas again, I'm ready to run up the mountain and maybe off if I don't turn left. Do you see that and have you seen that in your experience that tends to be more of something that females do more of or I don't know, maybe not, maybe I'm trying to
That
judge, but
females do more of believing in
like they
possibility
have to
before
see
seeing
the
the
whole
answer.
plan.
Oh,
They
have
have
to
to
see the
see
whole
the whole
plan.
plan before they sort of take a leap. And my wife, I have stretched her rubber band way out there because I said, look, we're going to start this company. We're going to do these great things. And we're going to have this
Hmm.
magic. We're going to do this
Yeah.
without being able to give her the 100 steps that it was going to take or the
Hmm.
million steps. I'm sorry, it's a lot of steps, but I
It's a
didn't
lot
really
of
fill that
steps.
in.
Hmm.
And okay, so again, how do you get back to being comfortable with starting on the vision, right? Like you cast
Hmm.
a vision and then you start to, it feels like there's a lot of self-doubt that kind of easy to pour in
Yeah.
of like, maybe I always tell people, like, if you don't get people to follow you, it's like a hallucination, right? Like if I'm the only one seeing it, we got problems because it is just a hallucination. So how do
Mhm.
you get people to rally around something when you have that vision and to kind of take that next step?
Yeah, that's a great question because I think you're right. Getting people to buy into the vision is a huge piece of it, especially the people that are your partners, your stakeholders. Um, is it a man versus woman thing? I don't know. I don't know that answer. I know I'm very type A. Some people have called me type A plus, and I'm like, thanks, friends. Um, I love a I love a plan. Like I love to know where we're going and I love to know how we're going to get there. And so that's why for me relentless optimism has been such a practice because to some degree I also have to convince myself sometimes of like, hey, I know in broad strokes where I want to go. But I also have learned enough over the few years of chasing dreams, building and selling businesses, like overcoming some pretty extreme setbacks that just because today I say in 5 years this is where I want to be, that actually doesn't mean that that's where I'm going to go. I'm going to get somewhere. I don't know if it's that place because even in this journey, I've had a couple of course corrections and that's okay. And I think that's why I say you don't have to know 100% the plan and you actually don't even have to know 100% the outcome because sometimes that's not where you're going. And you have to take the step to figure out like, oh, maybe actually you throw 100 things out there, right? And you're like, I thought I was going to go for number 73, but actually number 26 is what really lights me up. I'm going to go down that path. And that's been a big part of my journey is learning how to listen to my intuition, try to ignore my anxiety. Like they go hand in hand sometimes. Like sometimes it's really hard to differentiate between anxiety and intuition. Um, I have some tools in my book about that, but um, and trust the process and trust myself enough to say, okay, again, I don't know 100% where this is going to lead, but I believe that I'm stepping into my purpose and I believe that I'm going in the right direction and I believe that I'm going to figure it out. So when we get to the base of that mountain, I believe I'm going to find that path up. And when we get to the edge of the cliff, I believe that my wife is going to make me turn left. So, like,
All right.
right?
Somebody is going to turn me, right? Like,
I'm gonna get there, right? And if I walk off the edge of that cliff, then there's probably gonna be like one of those big bouncy houses waiting to catch me, and that's where I was supposed to be to begin with. So
I, I love that. I'm going to tell my wife that. I'm like, yeah, there's this thing at the bottom. We'll be fine.
100, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. I say
No,
that a lot. With varying degrees of conviction depending on the day. Like just it's gonna be great. It's totally gonna be great. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great, right? It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
I was going to ask. So, you've kind of talked a little bit about this self-talk and that sort of thing. Do
Mhm.
you have like a morning routine where you have a certain set of things that you say to yourself, or is it more of just you're in the habit of when you start to feel anxiety creep in that you're like, no,
Mhm.
no, no, I'm going to stamp it down because I'm going to say something.
Yeah. I would love to tell you that I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and spend 45 minutes meditating and really like honing into my purpose and centering. Mostly I get up and like try to put my hair in a ponytail and make a cup of coffee before I've got to get my 8-year old up and going because his school bus comes at 6:45 and that's pretty early.
Oh man,
Um,
that's yeah.
but I do celebrate the small wins. Like often when I get to my coffee maker and I hit brew, I just stand there and think to myself, like, made it out of bed to the coffee maker. Nothing's gonna stop me now. Like, watch out, world. Here
I'm
we
on a
go.
roll.
I'm on a roll, right? Just build on those successes, build on those micro successes. And like, I'm probably gonna make my bed in a few minutes. Like this day is shaping up beautifully. Um, but like, but to your point, I do address those things when they creep up. And like I have terrible imposter syndrome frequently. Um,
See, that blows me. I mean, from someone who's known you for a really long time
mhm.
and watches how you handle things, I can't imagine that you would doubt yourself at all because you are. And again, I guess that goes with I would probably drive you nuts because of your planning, and I know that about you, and you like to have everything like where it's supposed to be. And I know when you ask me to do things, and you're like, I don't ask him anymore because he makes me nervous. I get that.
That's actually not true. We'll talk about that another time.
But it really does surprise me about you. I think. I bet I could ask 100 people that know you and say, "Do you think that?" And they would say, "No way. She is locked in, knows her stuff." So it is
Thank
almost
you.
comforting to know that even someone who has a really good outwardly uh, presence still kind of has to deal with some of the uncertainty that you're dealing with your mind. So
Thank you for saying that. That's really kind. I'm gonna float on that for the rest of the day. I honestly I think most high achievers experience imposter syndrome. And I would contend that probably some of the most successful and some of the most visibly successful people have terrible imposter syndrome. And I think it's because high achievers care. We want to do well, we want to deliver. And to some degree, like the higher you get, the more visible you become, which sometimes can also feel like opening yourself up to judgment. And it does, frankly, like, I've been working really hard on content and putting myself out there on LinkedIn and becoming more visible. And that's really scary. That gives me a lot of pause sometimes. And it does open you up to judgment. But what I've realized is I get more support than judgment, though I do not know what is being said behind my back. So we're gonna
Well, if you
flip over
don't
there.
know, then it doesn't matter
That's
because it
right.
doesn't impact you, right? Like,
That's
okay,
right.
whatever.
Sure. But the thing I've learned and the thing that I lean into is not everybody's going to be your biggest fan. Not everybody's going to cheer for you, but you get to choose who's in your front row and you get to choose the voices that you listen to. And you get to choose the voices that you listen to, both the external voices and the internal voices. And imposter syndrome really is an incredibly powerful internal voice. And there are three things I think about in that context. First, I'm going to give you one of my favorite quotes around imposter syndrome. It's from Callie Beaton. She's an author, she's a comedian, she's a speaker, she's fantastic. She said, 97% of people experience imposter syndrome. The other 3% are sociopaths. So, so if you've ever experienced imposter syndrome, like congratulations, you're a
You're
human,
normal.
right? Um,
Right.
but the thing is, sometimes that self-doubt doesn't mean that you're unqualified. To me, I go, okay, maybe I'm growing. Like when you hit that level of imposter syndrome, maybe you're stretching and that's where that self-doubt is coming in. So you're not falling short, you're actually leveling up. For me, imposter syndrome sounds a lot like, who are you? Who are you to think you are that you might have a message to share? Who are you to write a book? Who are you to, want to share your message from the stage and try to help people lean into optimism as well? And I pause and I say, actually, and I try and reframe it. I say, actually, you know what? Why not me? Why not me? And that's really powerful. For me, at least, that's really powerful. Like, why not me?
Yeah.
And so I think about that a lot. Um, and if it's a particularly bad day, then I might try and pull out kind of the receipts, right? I might try and pull out the proof points of what I've done. What have I overcome? What have I learned along the way? I think that we don't celebrate the small wins enough. It's really easy to look at the finish line, look at that 5-year plan, look at that top of the mountain and go, oh my gosh, look at how far away that is. But what we really need to do is look back and say, hey, look at that starting line back there. I've come a really long way. I think we need to recognize the baby steps, recognize those small successes, those small milestones, celebrate them, and say, hey, look at how far we've come. We had a speaker once who said, I tell everybody they need to always at all times have a bottle of champagne in their refrigerator because you never know when that small success, that small milestone is going to happen, and we deserve to celebrate every single one of them. Now, if you don't have the champagne in the refrigerator, you're not going to be like, all right, let's just drive to the store, get a bottle of champagne, put it on ice, blah, blah, blah. But if you have it there available, you're like, you know what? Insert this amazing thing happen today, or insert this moderately okay thing happen today. Let's celebrate. And it's so rewarding, and it's a momentum builder. It's just one of those momentum builders along the way. So, you know,
That's, I'm sorry. That's
yeah.
so good. I was thinking Jane is probably like, preach it, sister," because like I'm the world's worst about like we didn't do it all.
Mhm.
And she'll
Yeah.
say, let's look back and just look how far we've come. Like she's a really good receipt keeper. Oh,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, but remember, like we're 10 times further than where we started or where we thought we would get. And I'm
Hmm.
only looking at where I thought we like the next goal. I'm always looking for the next thing.
Yeah.
And so thank you for that. I think that's extremely
Hmm.
powerful to have in your bag of going, reminding yourself where you start. And I think I'm a big believer in baselines now. And I used not to
Hmm.
care about those things, but now I understand them from the standpoint of they allow you to see just how far you've come, right? So
Yeah.
and some people don't want to do that because they think, oh, I'm starting so low, or like whether it's your numbers on socials or web
Hmm.
traffic or whatever it is. I used to be like that. I don't want to know. I just want to go do my thing. But really, I
Yeah.
think it allows you to, when you hit a wall, to be able to come back and say, gosh, but look, we were at this point, now we're here, and have that, and see the growth.
Hmm.
I can't tell you. I would be interested to know if since you've written your book and you put it out there, because it is super vulnerable to hit publish. I wrote my book
Yeah.
4 years before I hit publish because it took
Hmm.
me that long to decide should I do it or I just kept thinking, I
Yeah.
don't know, like in
Yeah.
head trash. But since doing it, I'm
Hmm.
amazed at how many people want to know if it's like they're seeking what's the secret? How did you do it? What was the thing?
Yeah.
And I have to remind, like, just do it. That was the thing. There's no secret to it. It is,
Yeah.
you have to accept all of the things that you talked about.
Hmm.
Maybe people will judge you. Maybe people
Hmm.
will, question why you and all these things.
Hmm.
At the end of the day, what I found is most people don't even care. Like, I give them, I think they're going to care about me a lot more than they actually do care about me. And so,
Yeah.
that's my advice to them is always like, if you want it and you have a story, do it. So what if
Hmm.
nobody reads it, or what? Like,
Yeah.
do it for you. And
Right.
what if people read it? What if it changes the life of one person?
Hmm.
Was it worth it?
Right.
And I think we would all say, like, would you trade a year to change a person's life forever?
Hmm.
I think most of us as a human, we go, yes, I would do that. Like, if it
Hmm.
just saved one person's life, I would trade
Yeah.
that. And so
Was it a good year, or was it one of like the the bad years?
like, the two or three of those, right? I'd like
Right.
to look
That's
back and
fine.
give up. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think writing the book is a whole exercise in itself and a whole journey, and then and a certain level of vulnerability for just putting the words on page. But hitting publish is a whole nother level of vulnerability, of imposter syndrome, of like fear. And I mean, yeah, you're right. I do share a very personal story in that book. I'm working on another one called Relentless Optimism for Life and Leadership that will be more really kind of like holistically life and leadership focused. A lot of stuff we're talking about today and beyond. Still some personal stories here, but anyway, the point is, yeah, it's super scary. It's super scary, and and it's super scary on a regular basis. Still, I hit publish a year ago, and and I've had a lot of people in my life come up and tell me that they read it and that they're proud of me and that they didn't know that I had been going through some of those things that I share in the book. And I'm sorry, I started
Oh, yeah.
losing my voice yesterday because talking for 5 days without a break. But
Because again, you just came off of, if y'all don't know, IMC is one of the most grueling
Mhm.
conferences ever, and Raya is one of the people that helped put that on. And like, yes, so thank you for
It's
being here.
great, but it's a marathon, and this is like the first one in years where I didn't leave with a total no voice. So it was very bold of me. I had to cast a lot of vision and use a lot of optimism to think that I was going to be able to be successful here today. So
Well, you
yay,
have knocked it out of the park.
thank
I
you.
know this always happens. I'm like, it's only, like I always tell the guest, oh, it's 15, 20 minutes, drop some nuggets and we'll be out.
Yeah,
And then we talk for an hour and a half, like
yeah,
it could be
I love it.
forever. But
I love it. No, but
before,
I'm pretty sure I was making a point. Oh, about vision, optimism, and keeping your content up. And so for me, I just to kind of put a pin in that. To your point, I keep leaning into my why, and that's what I really leverage and think of when I feel like why me? Who am I? Take the book down, whatever. And there's twofold fear there. It's what if no one reads it? Or like if you're posting on social, what if no one's listening to me? And then you go, wait a minute, but what if everyone reads it? And what if everyone's listening to me? Like so it's both, right? You're in this middle, like um, but I've actually circled back a little bit into that why, and I've been talking about this with some people recently. The stories that I share in the book are stories of some personal turmoil, and listen, I wouldn't wish some of those experiences on anybody, but I also wouldn't take them back because they made me who I am, and I'm really proud of who I am. But when I started but they're all very isolating. Like you're very alone sometimes. People feel very alone when they're going through times of trouble or challenge, even professionally, personally. When you're in a really hard, low space, you can feel so isolated. And people oftentimes have a hard time sharing, like, hey, I'm in a really hard spot right now. This is really hard. I'm struggling. Like saying the words, I am struggling is very vulnerable. And so when I started sharing pieces of my story with people in my life, the amount of connection that built and the amount of people who said, me too, or the amount of people who then maybe their story wasn't the same as mine, but they also had challenges that they hadn't really opened up about. And they said, oh, I experienced this. And vulnerability and authenticity, I have found, helps people lean in. It builds community and connection unlike anything else. And the whole point of writing the book, the whole point of hitting publish was because I know that I'm not going to be able to meet everybody. I mean, I'm going to meet the people I meet, right? But I wanted to have something out there. I almost wrote the book for who I was when I was struggling. It's meant to be a hand, it's meant to be a flashlight. It's meant to say, "Hey, dear person, you are not alone. Here are some of the challenges I've been through. Here are some of my struggles. I want to hold your hand through your journey, and if I can impart to you some of the ways and tools that I use to get to the other side, which is full of hope and happiness, this is how." And so whenever I feel scared, whenever I feel vulnerable, whenever that voice comes up and goes, "Who are you to think?" I lean into that. So leaning into your why and your purpose is super powerful.
ah, man, I love that. I always say, I joke when we go to economic development conferences. It's a chance for us all to realize there's a whole lot of crazy in the world and we're not alone. Like
Yeah.
we think it's only our community and we think we're the only ones. And then you start
Mhm.
talking to people and you're like, well, I'm not, at least I'm not that crazy.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
there's something about the connection of, and I even ask people, I'm like, is the standard reply is I'm fine. How are things? I'm
Mhm.
great. Fine.
Mhm.
And I'm like, are you really fine? Or are you really, are you scared to tell me that, and that has been a game changer for having some really cool conversations and maybe not solving anything, but just the sheer opening up really does
Mhm.
connect a lot deeper connection that
Mhm.
then things really cool can start to happen when you have that sort of
Mhm.
bonded time and
Yeah.
together. So
Yeah, the power of solidarity of experience, the power of knowing that other people are going through similar challenges and that other people have gone through similar challenges and come out the other side. There is so much that's so powerful. It's such a powerful thing. And I was thinking about this the other day because I have a 16-year-old. He doesn't have a license yet. He has his learner's permit. He doesn't want to drive with me a whole lot. We're going to talk about that another time. It might be the type A plus thing, but I digress. But you drive and you see these kids, and I want to get one of them, the new driver sticker
yeah,
on,
yeah.
right? And by and large, those are grown-ups of us, I'm not really grown up, but like those of us who are grown up and experienced drivers, we see the sticker and suddenly maybe we have a little bit more patience and
Uh-huh.
suddenly we might back up a little
I'm
bit,
not
give
going to
a
lay
little
on the
bit.
horn quite as loud if
Right. You're gonna do the horn's gonna be a little bit
it's
shorter,
gonna be a
a little bit
nice little
shorter.
tap. Hey, you
You're
can go.
you're not gonna like flip them off when you speed by, maybe a thumbs up, like good job, right? But
Yeah.
but we all of a sudden start extending a little bit more grace to that new driver. And maybe we Venmo the parent money for a shot of tequila when they get home. I don't know. But in life, nobody's walking around holding a sign that says grieving the loss of a parent, going through a breakup, in a really bad mood today, like really struggling.
Oh,
And and maybe we should. But but shouldn't we just extend people grace anyway? Because we don't know what other people are going through, and everybody's carrying something, even if we don't know what it is. And in addition to that, shouldn't we give ourselves that same grace? Because we also don't do that enough.
oh, gosh, right. I knew this would be good. I knew it. I love that. I love everything about what you just said, and I'm so glad you said it. We're 40 minutes in. I've got to does anybody have any questions?
I have one question is, so how do you build the optimistic teams? You talked about being optimistic, not
Mhm.
being Pollyanna, you seeing the problem. So you have a team and they have all these issues. Like how do you keep that optimism and realism moving towards your team to keep everybody toward the same goal?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a really important question. I will say, I think to start, that leadership is emotional contagion. So your team will mirror what you model. So the first step is to really approach the day with an optimistic attitude and an optimistic spirit. What we've been talking about today, a lot of that. So it's creating a culture where people feel safe to acknowledge those challenges and look for solutions. Creating a culture where it's okay to try. And even if you fail, acknowledge that failure isn't the finish line. We can pivot, we can pick up, and we can keep going. It's about turning the question of we can't into, well, how could we? And again, the yet, I don't have the answer. No, I don't have the answer yet. So you start modeling those tiny shifts in language, and then you start turning those dead ends into opportunities, and you start changing the challenges and the obstacles into springboards, right? And that can completely change the energy in the room. So, as a leader, when you're staying grounded, when you're staying hopeful, when you're staying open, even when things are uncertain, you're teaching your team to do the same. We know that optimism doesn't erase problems, but it does change how we approach them, and that can make all of the difference. So, people don't feel people don't follow leaders who have all of the answers. Nobody has all of the answers, right? But I think they follow leaders who have belief, and that is belief in the team, belief in the mission, and belief that better is possible, and then the courage to take the steps to get there.
Man, I love that. When I was in Levelland, they used to say, they started throwing out the term, well, that's pretty progressive, don't you think? And I could not understand it. I'm like, and I kept running into that, and I finally adopted it as our theme for the economic development was progressive on purpose. So they would say
Oh,
that's
I
pretty
like that.
progressive. And I'm like, it's on purpose.
Yeah.
And then I kind of turned it back on them, and it was a lot of these little conversations of reframing yet, and and what you're talking about. And I think it got to the point where they wouldn't say they were like, don't 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 do that in front of him because he is going to hammer us. he's going to get on his kick again, right? And so you
Yeah.
almost like by the again modeling it and almost sheer force of will of like, no, 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 this is for
Mhm.
purpose and intention, and
Mhm.
so that's really good. Thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, of course. And I think there are some small kind of consistent rituals that you can build into a normal everyday to lean into that and help support that, especially as you're getting going. And it's especially if you're trying to kind of shift a culture or infuse a culture with optimism, or maybe it's not quite there yet, or even just strengthen it if it is. Um, I do believe that small, consistent rituals will build culture more than any grand gesture. So
I do like that.
yeah. So one of the things, like if you're having a weekly meeting or a monthly meeting or whatever, maybe start with three quick questions to set the tone. And maybe one of them is, what's one win from last week? Okay. What's one challenge? Because there are challenges. How are we reframing it? And what's one thing we're excited about next? And I think when you start doing that consistently, you start rewiring the team and rewiring the energy to look for progress, to your point. Look for progress. I love that word, not just problems. You find those opportunities and the obstacles, and you build optimism into a muscle memory. And again, the reframes, I have to, I get to, and I don't have the answers. I don't have the answers yet. I think those things can change the energy of a room and the energy of a team relatively quickly. It's pretty astonishing.
Do you think that also helps filter out those that are not a good fit and attracts those that want to be part of something like that, right? I think
Mhm.
I think there are definitely people that it's just caustic for them to be around positive people because they
Yeah.
just can't get it or they don't see it. And then there's others that are deeply want to connect and
Hmm.
be around other like-minded people who believe in a better future.
Yeah. I think it can. I do want to say though that like we all baseline at different levels, right? We all baseline at different levels of happiness. We all baseline at different levels of optimism. Some of us tend to be more realistic. Some of us tend to be more pessimistic. Some people just wake up grumpy. Those people are not my people, but I'll still embrace you and give you grace. Just don't call me in the morning. I'm just saying like, but we can build that muscle. And that's what all of these practices are about. So if you have somebody on your team who leans less optimistic, if they can start buying in and start participating, they can up their game in that level of optimism. Just like if we have a culture that's a little bit broken right now, a team that's not engaged, or that could be improved in that realm, we're not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. There are a lot of ways to improve that morale, improve that engagement, improve that team spirit, and for all of us as individuals and as leaders to grow that muscle. But yes, there are some people who are never going to lean in, and there are some people who are not going to fit into certain cultures and organizations. And if you're driving towards an organization where we're seeing opportunities instead of obstacles, where we're practicing, we're casting vision and chasing it in an optimistic manner, then sure, you can weed those people out and identify them for sure.
I like that. I think you're talking, like it's kind of like you're resetting a baseline.
Hmm.
And all we're really trying to do is raise their baseline. We're
Hmm.
not necessarily trying to make them 100.
Right.
Maybe they'll never be that. But if we can go from a 50 to a 65, and
Hmm.
now the new floor is that's a
Right.
15% increase. That's massive.
Huge, huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, why are we only looking at the current standard of excellence? Why aren't we setting the bar? Why aren't we raising the bar? Why aren't we working intentionally to get there? And I think intention is such a powerful word for me because if you do things with intention, then it's possible, right?
I love it.
Um,
Okay, we're gonna start right there. That was awesome. I love that. What a great way. And it looks like William's got a question.
I
William?
do. I do. So this is like setting a vision, setting a plan, and moving forward with that, and responding to setbacks.
mhm,
And like you said, the using the reframing. But what kind of recommendations would you have specifically related to failure, or if
mhm,
a portion of a plan fails? Would you
mhm.
do anything different to adjust from that to then move
Yeah.
forward from that point? Like if you've got a plan and a component of that is not going to happen. There's no
Mhm.
way to get there. A lot of cities like to say they try to get to yes, but in some instances, you're just not going to get there.
Yeah.
Do you have any recommendations for how to kind of not reframe from the yet standpoint, but
Mhm.
never, and
The
just
never.
adjust
Yeah.
expectations?
Well, good news for you. I have a lot of experience with failure. So let's
I
really
do too.
let's dive in. Um, yeah, I think, and that's a great question because you're right. It's that yet isn't always a thing. Sometimes there's a no and it's a hard no. And we've all faced those hard no's, right? But I think then you can take a minute, and I think it's okay to sit with that and be disappointed because in life and leadership, it at home and in the office, like you have to sit with it, you have to go through it, you have to grow, get through it, and then you can grow through it. So for me, I think it would just be a pivot. And I know that sounds really simple, but you go, okay, it's a no on this piece. So what parts of the project does that impact? What parts of the project can we keep going with? How does this change the vision? And if it doesn't change the vision, how does it change the path? So I think failure isn't final unless you just give up. But sometimes progress and forward motion doesn't have to be in the same exact direction that you thought you were going in to begin with. It's like what Dave said, like you get to the bottom of the mountain and then you see the other path, right? Or somebody trips you and you fall off the edge, but there's a bouncy house down there to catch you. Like there's going to be a solution. There's going to be another way to go. It's just a matter of finding it. And but I would say it's okay to sit with the disappointment as long as you're willing to pick yourself back up and go, okay, now how does that change the vision? How does that change where I want to get to? And then I would say take your new vision or take your new direction and go back to those same three framings for your vision. Why does it matter? What's the purpose? Who does it serve? Those are your people or your companies. And how could it happen? There's your possibility. So how can you fit this new direction into that framing?
Okay,
Awesome.
thank you.
Good stuff. All right. We have taken way more time than you allotted me, and I'm so appreciative. It has been great, Rya. I knew it would be a great conversation. Thank you so much for saying yes and for doing it at the tail end of what was a very busy week. Thank you for the work you do. Thank you for
Thank
bringing
you.
this into the world. I think it's really important, and I'm super excited for your new book to come out. For those that want to connect with you, just give them your website real quick so they know how to find you, and then we'll let you get out of here.
Yeah, it's ryahazelwood.com, or connect with me on LinkedIn. Again, Rya Hazelwood. I would love to connect and be in touch. And you can reach
And
me at ryahazelwood.com. Reach me on LinkedIn. I'm highly accessible. So
one thing I hope, we do a women's economic development forum in the state of Texas. I would love, I don't know who does that, but maybe they'll see this. I'll get it in front of them. I think you would be a great fit to be on the stage at that conference. I
Yes.
just think that would be a wonderful thing to bring to the ladies in economic development here in Texas. We'd be so fortunate to have you. So again, thank you very much for being on Success from Day One. I'm your host, Super Dave Quinn. Thank you guys for joining us. And we'll be around next month, Jane, or no? Are we done for the year?
We do have one in November. So yeah,
Right.
no, next month is Misty Mayo
Okay. All right.
from Abilene.
All right, Rya, thank you so much again.
thank
Thank you for
you.
being a
Enjoyed it.
friend, and
Thank
thank you
you.
for joining us. All right,
Thank
guys.
you so
Thank
much.
y'all.
All
Y'all have
right.
a great day.
Bye.